it's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualized, My Sexual Life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit the great big subscribe button right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live right now, post a new video. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up as we're going along if you're enjoying the content. If you don't know who I am Sandra Bellamy, author of this beautiful book, Asexual Perspectives, 47 Asexual Stories, Love, Life and Sex, a celebration of asexual diversity, which can be found in the description below. I'm also the founder of asexualise.com and the founder of Asexualise Academy. Well, welcome to this special movie review edition of SpiderMan Far From Home. So SpiderMan Far From Home is a no sex movie. So if you didn't know already, I am asexual. I'm a heteromantic asexual. So I'm attracted to guys romantically, but I don't have any wish to have sex with them. I haven't got any need or wish or want or urge for partner sexual intercourse. I also don't like seeing sex in movies. I'm nudity repulsed, so I specifically try to find movies that I love to watch with no sex in them. And this is one of those movies. I absolutely adore superhero movies because they give me, you know, such power, such strength, you know, to just tackle life and to just do anything and to take on the world. And that's why I love watching superhero movies. Now, Spider-Man Far From Home follows on from the Avengers Endgame movie. You know, so if you haven't seen the two films in Avengers Endgame series, make sure you watch that movie first, or those two movies, before you actually watch Spider-Man Far From Home, because Spider-Man Far From Home carries on from Endgame, where, you know, there's characters that have died in it. I have to let you know there are huge spoilers coming up in this video, movie, film review. So I mean, the Spider-Man isn't even out to buy it on video yet, but you can pre-buy it. You know, you can pre-order it. So I will be putting the links in the description below to pre-order it if you want to get in on that as soon as possible after this video is finished recording. So Spider-Man Far From Home, I'm going to be doing a review right now of it because I've watched the whole movie. It's a fantastic movie. So if you don't want to know what happens, if you haven't seen the movie yet, please do not watch this video until after you've seen the movie, because it will spoil things for you, okay? But I really know that you love these film reviews I do on my channel, and I really wanted to do a movie review for you. So let's dive in. And remember, if you don't want any spoilers, specifically don't watch this movie. But if you are going to watch the movie, don't forget there's two bits at the end on this one. So after the credits roll, not only is there a bit partway through the credits, there's one at the very end when all the credits have gone. Do not miss those two bits, right? Do not miss those two bits, okay? So in a lot of Marvel films, you will know at the end of the trailers, there are usually at least one other bit that's the bit of the movie that leads on to the next one. So the next Spider-Man after the Far From Home one that's just come out. But I always stay to the very last minute. So when basically the curtains come apart and they've had the Metro, you know, they've had the title, like them. Sometimes if it's a Metro Goldwyn Mayer film, they'll have the Lion Roar. If it's a different type of film produced by someone else, they'll have different, you know, like where the film was filmed, etc. They'll have like the credits, and the credits will be completely finished and they'll go to a blank screen, and then there is another bit at Spider-Man Far From Home. So do not miss that bit, okay? Because most people won't stay. There's people who left. Okay, so I'm just telling you that now. So, and now I'm going to dive into the movie review. So there's going to be huge spoilers, but I absolutely love this movie and I can't wait to tell you about it. So Spider-Man Far From Home, right, is carrying on from the Avengers Endgame. If you haven't seen Avengers Endgame, I am going to spoil it for you now and tell you my favorite ever Avengers character died. He's dead, and I am so devastated. I'm seriously hoping that one day he comes back to life. But anyway, he's gone. And so it's Iron Man. So if you haven't, there are other characters that died in Avengers Endgame. And at the beginning of Spider-Man Far From Home, they do this song with Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You, which I wasn't expecting, which is in memoriam to the 4 of the characters they've put on there. I could only count 4 that they've put on there that died in the previous Endgame, and it was like a tribute to them. And so it's quite sad to start off with. I thought, oh, what's this? This Whitney Houston, "I Will Always Love You," doing it in the beginning of the movie. We haven't even had the movie yet, and then it came on. So Iron Man was my ultimate favorite character. I've got all 3 of his movies, and I've got the first part of the Avengers Endgame movies, the actual Endgame itself, the last movie where Iron Man died. I haven't got that. I don't know if I will, because I found the whole thing really upsetting, and it upsets me now. I've been with the character for years. I think when you really get engrossed in a character, you really love a character, I think you really feel for that character, and you know that the person who's acting is still alive, but you really resonated with that character the most. I think it's quite heartbreaking as someone who's followed the series, and obviously there was other characters that died. So if your character died as well, then obviously that's quite difficult for you emotionally. And it's surprising how we can get caught up with characters. My second favorite character is great because it is Spider-Man. And in this movie, I'll be talking about is Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, the new Iron Man. So this is going to be big, huge spoilers coming up, all right? So basically, Spider-Man Far From Home, right? It tells the story of Peter Parker as Iron Man's now dead, right? It comes on. It's a very, very, very emotionally powerful film. It starts off slow. I was a little bit disappointed with the slowness in the beginning, but it got just really, really good and amazing by the end, and I loved it. Absolutely adored it. But it does start off slow, and that's because they're trying to tell his story, Spider-Man's story, right? And basically, you're really getting into the Spider-Man's heart, his soul, his character, his mind. This is all about getting into Spider-Man's mind. It's all about the devastation that Iron Man's death has left behind. This is a major, major, major part of the movie. Iron Man's dead. Iron Man has his mentor, if you've looked at the previous movies, right? Iron Man was his mentor, was telling him what to do, was getting him out of tricky situations. And so Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, really looked up to Iron Man. He saw him as kind of a father figure that he doesn't currently have in his life. He's got his Aunt May, hasn't he? He hasn't got an actual father figure in his life as such until this movie, where Happy actually plays quite a big role, who used to be like a sidekick to Iron Man, like his assistant. He's now stepped into the role of assisting Spider-Man, and there is a second there's a few sub-story plots going on in this one. There's obviously the one that's ongoing with Spider-Man and MJ, which develops in this movie. And there's also something I really, really wasn't expecting. So again, this is going to be a spoiler, that Happy is interested in Spider-Man's Auntie May. And I didn't actually see that coming. So I was quite shocked about that. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So in this film, Happy's becoming more of a, he's like an assistant to Spider-Man now. He's taken on that role. And I think he's possibly potentially going to be a father figure in his life. I mean, he kind of is anyway. The fact, that Spider-Man doesn't really have a dad in the movie currently, because of the past, what happened with him. But, he lives with his Aunt May, And so, hasn't got a father figure in his life. So Happy is, I think, doing part of that role for him, if you like. So yeah, that was very interesting. But he is literally devastated. And what goes on in the movie is all about Spider-Man and the devastation he feels. And he needs to get away from his superhero role for a bit. He's fed up of playing this superhero role and, the world relying on him. And he thinks that he can't follow in the footsteps of Iron Man, that those boots are too big to be filled, and that he's not the one that's up to the task. Whereas you don't see the other Avengers or anyone. They're all apparently busy, and the world ends up in chaos, and they need Spider-Man to help save the day. But he's fed up with the Spider-Man role. He's fed up with, having all this responsibility. He can't handle it at the moment because his friend Iron Man's dead. And they really, really showed you how Spider-Man was such good friends with Iron Man, how he really looked up to him I guess Iron Man was like a father figure in his life. He really looked up to him. He really saw him as not just a mentor, but a friend. And he's devastated. And don't forget, Spider-Man's supposed to be 16 in the movies. In real life, the guy who plays him is 23. Quite cute as well. So, but in the movies, he's meant to be 16. And so, you know, it's really emotionally upsetting for him. And what happens in the movie is that Iron Man might be dead, but his legacy lives on with Spider-Man, or that's what his intention is. So Spider-Man gets the left a gift by Iron Man, who's dead. And this gift is these pair of glasses. And within these glasses is Iron Man's tech. It's like access to all his like major programming, to build like suits, weapons, robots, all this type of thing. And it's just amazing. It's all hidden in these glasses. And it's called, the voice is called Edith. Even in death, I'm the hero. That's what it stands for. And I thought that was an amazing analogy, you know, because Iron Man is never going to die in that way. His legacy will always live on and he will always be there. Do you know what I mean? His presence will always be there. So I just thought that was really, really clever. And I was surprised. I didn't know that was going to happen because I hadn't watched any spoilers myself. I hadn't watched any movie reviews. And so what happens when he gets his tech is that he doesn't feel worthy of it. He feels he's a 16-year-old kid. He went on vacation to stop, you know, participating for just a brief time in superhero activities. He wanted to just forget all his responsibilities, go on vacation, have a well-needed break because he couldn't deal with, you know, he's grieving for his loss of his friend. And he gets given this tech, and this tech is amazing. And Iron Man obviously wanted him to have it. And so in the movie, it's like Iron Man wants Peter Parker to be the next Iron Man. You know, he's given his tech over. And in the film, as the film progresses, you will see that this is very much the way it sort of goes. Even the movie, there's like reference in one of the trailers, there's reference to, are you the new Iron Man? Obviously, no one can actually beat Iron Man himself, but they do need someone that'll kind of take on that responsibility. But what happens is very, very, very good. Is there's this guy who comes in to the movie that's meant to be a superhero. And Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, is obviously grieving. He's very vulnerable. He's very lost. He just wants to be with MJ and tell her how he feels, that he's in, you know, that he likes her more than a friend, basically. He wants to give her this item of jewelry in a European country. So he goes on vacation. But the vacation doesn't turn out how he wanted, because he's got these glasses which he didn't know was the tech from Iron Man. And wherever he goes, even though he goes abroad, he can't get away from the grief he feels for Iron Man. You know, it's following him in everywhere he sees Iron Man. He sees him on billboards, he sees, like, you know, walls, he sees them on, you know, basically he sees Iron Man everywhere. And when he gets given this tech, obviously it's like, it's Iron Man tech. It's from the guy himself, but he doesn't feel worthy of it. He thinks as a 16-year-old boy, he doesn't have the knowledge, the skills, and the power to actually carry Iron Man's legacy forward. And in this film, he battles internally, but the internal stuff becomes huge, because it's a very clever way they've done it. This guy who comes into the movie, he's supposed to be a superhero, you find out he's a fraud. And at the time, Peter Parker doesn't know it. This supposed superhero who is using projection tech to manifest fake explosions, fake monsters, fake stuff, to get the world to think he's a superhero. He's like staging his own superheroic performance. You know, Spider-Man believes that. At the beginning, he thinks it's true, and he thinks Spider-Man thinks he's not worthy of the tech, so he hands it over to this guy who apparently is meant to have saved the world. And it's like, you know, I didn't do it, I'm not worthy of the glasses and the tech, you are. So he hands them over, he gives authority over to this guy, and then you find out this guy is a fraud, and he basically wants to take over the world by making himself out to be this huge big superhero, and he's willing to kill people in the process to prove it. So no longer is it just this tech, this fake superhero is using to conjure up explosions, monsters, and really horrendous things to make him look like he's an amazing superhero. He's saving the world. He's actually, you know, he's just a fraud, and he wants to, he will be prepared to kill people in real life as part of the action sequence that, the fake action sequence he's creating. He'll be quite happy to use real people in that. So he will actually have real people dead. And some of it's shot in European countries, some of it's shot in London as well. So he's got London as one of the targets. And so it's very, very clever the way he does it, because when he creates this, when the baddie, the villain, who's meant to be a superhero, but people don't realize at first, when Spider-Man realizes this guy's bad, then this guy comes after Spider-Man. And Spider-Man is dealing with all this grief. And because this guy who he thought was the superhero, he hands all the tech over, the Iron Man tech to him. Obviously, this other guy's more powerful in terms of the tech he's got. And so, and he uses his tech. The villain uses his own illusion tech with Iron Man tech to give illusions to Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man. So to Spider-Man, he's got into the emotions of Spider-Man. He's found out Spider-Man's grieving. He doesn't think he's worthy. He'd rather be off with MJ. He'd rather just forget his super power and superhero responsibilities. And so this villain has preyed on that, and he's thinking, he's basically, pulled the wool over Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man's eyes. And so when Spider-Man finally realizes what he's been doing, he tries to confront the villain, and instead he gets his own demons come out about all the grief he's feeling for Iron Man, the fact he's not able, thinks he's not worthy and able to live up to the Iron Man legacy. And there's this really, really quite gruesome bit where you see Iron Man's grave in this illusion, and Spider-Man sees it, and you see you see this Iron Man half, coming out of the grave basically, and is half nearly disintegrate. Half of the robot is very damaged, and the other half's kind of still okay, and it's reaching out through the earth of the grave, and it's coming forward to try and grab hold of Spider-Man. It's really horrible. It's like a nightmare illusion he's having, and it's very clever. And all the cinematography around Peter Parker, Spider-Man's illusions, with all his grief, everything's coming out of his mind to do with Iron Man, the loss, the grief. He doesn't really know who he is anymore in this stage. He's not being the strong person. He kind of wants to forget the superhero responsibilities, because as we know, the superhero motto is, with great power comes great responsibility. And he just feels like, one, he's grieving, he's not up to dealing with this right now. He needs to grieve and get away from things, and two, that he's not worthy of it, and three, that other people, before he realized the guy was a villain, is more worthy than he is, and he gave it away to a stranger. And it's really, really powerful, because by the end of the film, Peter Parker's kind of Spider-Man's kind of stepping in to the role of Iron Man by the end of the movie, in terms of living up to Iron Man's legacy and going to take it on, because he realizes he is worthy. And so the storyline was quite in depth. It was really good. It started off slow, and then it got really better and better, and I really, really loved the movie. I felt so strong afterwards, I felt if Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, can do all this stuff, Spider-Man can come back from the dead in his mind, really, and he can triumph, and he can live his own life, and he can really live up to the, he's never going to be Spider-Man. And Happy has this talk saying, no one's ever going to be not Spider-Man, sorry, he's Spider-Man. So Happy has this talk with Spider-Man to say he can never be Iron Man. No one will ever be Iron Man. But basically, you get the gist that Peter Parker is the next best thing to Iron Man. He's like the next Iron Man Spider-Man, if you know what I mean. So he's not stopping being Spider-Man, but you see that they start using traits of Iron Man in Spider-Man, the way Spider-Man starts putting things together with the tech, creating his own suit using the Iron Man tech. On board this plane that Happy's brought to rescue him. You see the music coming on that used to be used in the Iron Man films. So they are very much gearing like basically Spider-Man up to be the next Iron Man, you know, to fulfill that role as well as his own without actually ever being Iron Man. And I'm really happy they chose Spider-Man to do that, because Spider-Man is my second favorite character, and I think that's really true to the Iron Man legacy. I think, you know, Iron Man would have wanted him to have the tech. I think Iron Man would, you know, realize Peter Parker's potential, how intelligent he is, and how he does make mistakes like himself, but he always comes good in the end. And I think, you know, they had a good synergy together. And also the guy that plays Peter Parker, I know from the movie I've got on Blu-ray that my mum bought me. I think it's Blu-rays on disc anyway. So, you know, behind the scenes footage, the guy who plays Peter Parker, he really loves his character. He really, really is like his character as well. You know, he did ballet for like 2 years, I think it was, and so he's very, you know, he's used to being in tight clothing anyway, and he's done lots of acting before, and he loves the superhero movies. It's been a dream to be in one, you know. All his life he's looked at the movies but never was in it, and then now he's in it. He's grateful and thankful to be in it. So I see him being in it a long time, you know. From what I've read up about, it's 5 movies he's been in now, and so you know, I think it bodes well for his future. You know, I think it bodes well for the future of the films, the movie franchise, and, you know, and going forward, all the movies together. I think it's a franchise still, isn't it? Anyway, it bodes well for the movies, and you know, it's just really good, because I think he'll be around for many years to come. So he's one of the better choices for taking on Iron Man tech, because he's going to be there. He's going to have that longevity. Whereas if Iron Man gave it to someone else who was maybe getting older, doesn't want to appear in the movies as much, or they can't afford them as much, you know, and is not got that sustainability and longevity, then I think that would have been a mistake. But giving it to Spider-Man, you know, Spider-Man is kind of like the next Iron Man, but he's also still Spider-Man in his own right. So it's kind of like combine the two. I think it's a very, very awesome way of doing it. I think Iron Man would have wanted him to have the tech. I can see maybe Pepper Potts coming back into it in the future, in my you know, in my mind. You know, I think maybe Spider-Man will have to at some point go back to Pepper Potts, go back to, you know, what Iron Man left behind, and try and figure out how Iron Man made his tech, how Iron Man did various things. You know, maybe he'll find Iron Man's daughter in the future and become, you know, I don't know, involved with her in some way. But I mean, obviously she's meant to be I think it's, you know, she's meant to be a kid still at the moment. So I think there's a lot of room for, you know, Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, to be working with Pepper Potts in the future, possibly, you know, if he needs help with things to do with Iron Man that he didn't know about Iron Man when Iron Man was alive. So I think there's potential, because I think Pepper Potts makes quite a good Iron Man figure, or Iron Woman figure, if you know what I mean, as well. So I think the potential's there as well. But I just absolutely adored the movie. I felt so empowered by the end, and I thought the cinematography was absolutely encapsulating, you know, all this stuff that's going on Peter Parker's mind, with all the grief he feels over Iron Man, really comes out in all these illusions. You know, it's very, very cleverly done. The film, you know, the way the filming has been done is just amazing. It's got no sex in it whatsoever. So it's a very good film for asexuals to watch, if asexuals are the ones that don't like sex. It's got no nudity in it whatsoever, apart from, you know, like you might see a top come off. There's no actual nudity as such, you know, no woman naked in it. I like MJ's character, because she's a really strong, kick-ass girl who's different, and she likes nerdy guys. And there's no, you know, I don't see any sexual chemistry. It's like romantic chemistry between Peter Parker and MJ, you know. And Peter Parker's meant to be a nerd, but obviously Spider-Man really intelligent at the same time. So, you know, MJ is a very good character, because she's different to other women. You know, she's not about appearance. She's not about what people think of her. It doesn't give a toss about what people think of her. She doesn't care. She's not in life or living it for other people. She's just living it to be herself. She knows what she wants. She's very strong. She doesn't need to dress up in revealing clothes to get the guy she cares about. She doesn't need to show off her body. You know, she's a very, very empowering character female character for women, and particularly young girls, you know, because loads of young girls, it's like slap some makeup on, slap a dress on where you're showing your boobs and your ass, you know, and you know that's what people will get attracted to. Whereas in these Spider-Man movies, you see a genuine friendship develop between Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, and MJ, and you see that she's very different. She's more like a tomboy in some ways, you know. She's more into sort of like look at things in a very weird way, you know, like death and horror and stuff like that. She kind of likes these things, so she's kind of weird, a bit different, a bit offbeat. I think lots of asexuals will be able to relate to her being different. I love the fact that she's not, you know, that the clothes she wears are not sexualized, not at the moment anyway, it's particularly in this movie, you know. I just think it's really good. There's a romance that develops really strongly between the two, but it's more of a, you know, tentative romance. It's more of a nervousness romance. It's like, you know, when they really like each other, it's not this, oh wow, I'm sexually attracted to you, let's jump into bed together. It's like, well, we're friends, I really dig you, I think you're cool, I think you're great, I think you're different, I think you're weird, I think you're zany, I think you know, really good. And they're attracted to each other for different reasons, not for the sexual reasons. And that's what I think is so good about this no sex Spider-Man Far From Home movie. Is literally, you know, I don't see or feel any sexual chemistry, but I feel really romantic friendship chemistry between the two. And I just think this is incredible. You know, it's like, you know, it's like she's very strong, but she does want Spider-Man to take care of her as well, you know. And she's switched on, she knows about him, she accepts him for who he is, and he likes her because he's drawn to her personality and she's drawn to his personality. And I think that's what asexuality is about, and asexual relationships a lot of the time. I think we're drawn mostly to people's personalities. I mean, for me, asexuality is important for kissing and physical contact, but that doesn't replace the fact that I need someone who's my bestest ever friend and soulmate, who I can rely on and deeply, deeply trust, who knows what he wants in life, who's very self-assured. And I think MJ comes across like that in character, and sometimes a little bit more than Peter Parker. You know, Peter Parker's a little bit unsure of himself, like, but when he's finally sure of what he wants, MJ, then he does, you know, like, go for it. You know what I mean? I think MJ's very, very strong character. She knows what she wants. She goes for it. And you'd see in this movie that she's making a lot of the first moves, even if it is in a sort of nervous manner. Whereas he wants to make the first moves, but he's more scared. She's actually less scared than he is. Yeah, he's the superhero. So I think it's very, very clever the way they've done the characters. I think it's a really amazing movie. I think it's certainly, you know, like in the beginning, you know, like don't get worried that it is a bit slow, because I thought this is not like the normal superhero movie. You know, he's grieving, he's very weak in the beginning, but they did that on purpose, and they did that to show the trueness of the character. They did that to show his heart. They did that so it can contrast later to what happens in the rest of the movie. They did that to show his weaknesses, so you can finally see how he changes it around to strengths. And it's a film very much focused on people's fears, you know, that if you live your life and you live your fears, you're not really living a life. And it's not until you push through your fears and realize who you truly are, who you were born to be, and the strength and purpose you have in your life, that you truly come into your own. You know, it's very true of people in real life. You know, many of us, we live our fears more than we live our hopes, dreams, ambitions, and goals. And by living through our fears, we live a life half lived. You know, we live a life that's not true to our own, and we can't live and fulfill our real purpose in life, you know. And I think it's so important to try and push through those fears, even if you have them. I think it's so important to bring out your own superhero in you, to push through your fears, to push through your boundaries, to really, really live up to your own legacy. I think, you know, it's really difficult in life. Life is not always easy, you know, and we can just have so many fears and blockages. But the only way we truly live our life and live a lasting legacy and leave a lasting legacy is by literally pushing through our fears, like Spider-Man, like a superhero, is to push through those fears, fight through those fears with grit, tears, and determination to succeed at whatever you do, you know? I really hope that you can bring out the superhero in you. Superhero is strong. They know what they want in life, but this doesn't mean to say that they don't have issues going on. They don't have an emotional side, because they do. But their emotions is what makes them stronger in the end. You know, emotions can literally kill you inside, but they can also make you the strongest person alive. Because through emotions, we can feel heartache and pain, but we can also feel delight and elation. And we can also push through our own fears. And we can literally become the stronger version of us. Someone who knows what we want in life, goes for it. Maybe we'll get knocked back, maybe we won't, but we literally put our heart, soul, and mind into what we do, and we strive and we go and get it, and we live that dream. I mean, we live that dream. And, you know, it's just incredible. You know, go out there and be your own superhero in life. Work out what you want. Work out what your personal superpower is. Maybe that's helping the homeless. Maybe that's dedicating your life to charity. Maybe it's just improving yourself and your own personality, your own, you know, mindset, your own character. So you truly become someone you know. You know, you should become your own best friend. You should become someone that you know, that you like, that you trust, that you love. You should become someone who's always trying to improve yourself. You know, who's always striving to be the best version of you that you can be. And you should be doing this for yourself. But you also, you know, it's really important to know where you're headed in life. You know, and if you don't know where you're headed in life, go out there into the wide world and try things. Because if you never try things, you'll never know. You know, SpiderMan found out that he was worthy when he thought he wasn't. He thought he can't take on the responsibility that's been given him in life. And he wanted to run away. But it always catches up with him, and it'll catch up with you in the end. Don't be one of these people that change happens to. Be one of those people that change happens for. Go and make change happen for you. Everything happens for a reason. Find the reason, find your why, live your purpose, and be your own superhero in life. Until next time, embrace your quirky and each other's. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Go and watch the SpiderMan Far From Home movie. It is sensational. Starts off slow, but then it goes into all the beautiful cinematography and has a really, really good in-depth storyline. And it's extremely emotionally powerful. Go and see it. Go and watch it. Leave your reviews down below. Let me know what you thought of the movie. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Share it with all your friends. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit that great big subscribe button right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live right now or post a new video. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Until next time, embrace your quirky and each other. And I will see you on the next video or live stream. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.